What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 32 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Thorgrim Grudgebearer Old World campaign. So as we saw last time, Draika's faction, if not quite yet destroyed, has lost several of its armies and is now very much weaker than it was before. Probably not to the point of being able to stand up to the limited number of armies that we have here, which is great because it is the last sort of big portion of territory that we need to link up with the Empire. There is a little Skaven faction running around in the Empire as well, but like most of the stuff that we need to deal with, it is north of the River Talabek, and that's where the Empire is still very much struggling with not a single territory left there anymore, with the exception of Wolfenburg, which at the very least is still holding, though I do wish its garrison was a little bit stronger. Hopefully that reinforced walls gets completed and whatever else. I guess we'll see. Anyway, in terms of what we got to do this time, we're about halfway through this turn, so there's probably a fair bit more things that we need to do, so let's start doing. Let's see what we got here. Mr. Morgus Death Dealer, you still don't need to move. You're still waiting. All right, that's fine. Poor guy. All right, but he isn't holding fast as Mr. Holdfast did, at least not for nearly as long a time. Now, you, Stachel Gundrickson, you're just sort of a whatchamacallit. We're gonna have to deal with you, aren't we? Scaff, I guess that's gonna be you, buddy. You're gonna have to deal with Gorbad. Alright, that's fine. Stachel's just an auto-resolve army. We can send him down this way, I think. Probably the best use of his time, especially if we get Heldegrad with Karak Grundadrag. That's probably how we do it. Alright, so you're gonna start heading down this way. Should still be able to heal up decently well. I'm going to assume that there isn't a full stack here because, well, there is a stack here, and they do get defenses. You might actually have to fight for your lives. Good luck. Do you actually have points spent on any of these guys? Obviously, you're just an auto-resolve army, so you won't have a lot, but maybe enough. So you have Thunderer and Axe Lord, which are the important two things. Nobody's at rank 7, but we should still get Dowie firepower for them. We may as well get Tapestry of Oaths into Slayers to me. Well, actually, there's not a single unit that would benefit from this. I mean, granted, this guy's supposed to have a different lord is actually supposed to be commanding this army, but for now, better get some stuff. Demon Bane, Demons Be Damned. I guess we're the foe for at least the enemy ward save reduction for enemy armies in region, and get Death Wish just to get, I assume that Glorious Death applies to you yourself, even though it isn't going to be super useful there. Blade Master, and let's start on Rune of Grimnir, before we later reset you. Frankly, you have Valea's Grace, so it's not going to be the most useful of traits, but anyway. Herrick Grundadrag, I don't know whether you were the next in line or next in the order, but, well, we're gonna start moving you anyway. Let's see if by attacking Grom Rotgut here, we can get the garrison of Heldegrad to come out and play. Alright. And let's apply the points as well. Our Fire Slayer army is a relatively new one, after all. You don't need Blessed by Grugni. We have Blessed by Grimnir. This is basically all Dowie firepower and, or Fire and Fury and Grimnir's heirs, so you're more or less fine. Let's get one more point in Rune of Grimnir. Ancestral Grudge, since you're fighting Greenskins, I guess, Root Marcher, Blade Master, and Resolute, not fighting demons, so no need for the demons be damned. What about the Thane? You're here mostly for that Ironbeard trait, but let's get your retinue trainer. This army does still need to be trained up, and we may as well go through We Are the Elite. We will eventually get Revered Thane, but it's not like we're in a super big hurry to get it, and get that glittering scales that it offers. You can max out sharpened weapons, and I guess we may as well go through to strike the runes, and start on our journey to Rune Master as well. So, Stubborn Mastery, Accomplished Runesmithing, and then onward and upward. We'll still grab the We Are the Elite and all the other stuff that's going to be in pretty good in here. Anyway, oh, actually, that reminds me. A Runesmith, We Are the Elite gives how much armor again? 5 armor. I wonder how many Runesmiths we should put in the Armored Slayer army that we're working on. And just to see how much armor we can take them to. But anyway, for now, you should probably get also We Are the Elite and start working on Sapper, I guess. Nothing else is super important. And you're fine. Alrighty, now let's see if these guys come out and play, and if they don't, well, we'll just go for the settlement directly then. I'm pretty sure they will. Play, I mean. And yes, they will. Alright, what do we have here? We have a bunch of biggins. We have Orc Boar Boy biggins and a Ragnarok and a Savage Giant. Oh, that's not something the Slayer army or Fire Slayers will be able to easily bring down. Gotta remember that the Dwarf Engineers, due to their explosive nature, are going to be better against the blobs. Though I do imagine that Skaven's Blades and Flames of Karak and being flame cannons should be able to bring down pretty much anything decently well. Go.
Why are you all following me? It's really, really annoying. Just go and kill something. Go!
Alrighty, here we go. Fire Slayer army back in action, and it's a really, really enjoyable army, so I'm willing to bet it's going to have a pretty darn fun battle. If the enemy should manage to close the distance, they're going to have to contend with the Slayers in melee, so I'm not so sure that they actually want to. Anyway, looks like the enemy has a singular unit of Mangler Squigs running around out there. Of course, the main enemy stack is a reinforcing stack, so A, this one doesn't really matter, and B, we'll probably take a few pot shots at them as they either approach or sit there and take our hits. There we go. I think that's another unit of Mangler Squigs down. Pop. There we go. They're so entertaining. They're entertaining even when they die. Oh, you gotta love these guys. Oh, I'm gonna have so much fun with these frickin' things in my Warband campaign. I can't wait. Anyway, we've got a nice little position for ourselves here, a hillside upon which we will deploy all of our Dwarf Engineers and our units of Iron Drakes, Bugman's Breath, and Jartrom Legion here out front for the Dwarf Engineers, behind them, powering them, and the nearby Slayer Pirates up as well. That's to Dowie Engineering, plus 20 reload skill, plus 20 accuracy, on top of eventually the ballistics calibration, which is another 50 accuracy and 25 reload. It's pretty strong in range, and it's pretty solid in melee as well, if the enemy should actually get to us. Of course, while the main stack may very well be able to do so, not so sure about this little stack here. Looking like they're getting fried by the flame cannons, which is as we expected. Alrighty, or at the very least the orcs are. The night gobos are hidden from us unless I'm mistaken, but well, it shouldn't be all that concerning. Alrighty, and it looks like we got 6 seconds until the enemy reinforcements arrive, so a few more pot shots with our... what is that? Oh, Gaze of Mork, and it's going to hit our Lord and do a little bit of damage. Nope, it's going to do no damage whatsoever. Interesting. He's got 50% spell resistance, so it would have done damage if it actually hit, but apparently it did not. Alrighty, well, with the enemy reinforcements on field, now it's only a matter of time until they actually start to attempt to bum rush us on this hill. In terms of deployment, other than the fact that our Slayer Pirates are forward together with the rest of our range units to fire to the enemy as they approach, we also have 2 units of Slayers with the regular Grudge Settler Slayers waiting to see where the enemy fast movers charge, whether it be cav or pump wagons or whatnot, to apply that cavalry bane to them, and then 2 more units of Slayer Pirates basically just running around waiting to react to any enemy fast movers. It does look like a few of the enemy units have actually decided to close the distance with our Iron Drakes, and that's generally speaking a tremendously bad idea. The Iron Drakes will fry the unit of orcs first, as they, yes, I guess, saw them first, and then proceed to fry the gobos just as well. Slayer Pirates going to fire their pistols at the approaching pump wagons. These are flappas, so they wouldn't be nearly as threatening as the spiky rollers are, but still potentially an annoying attack if they do manage to reach us. And you gotta love fire armies. I will never stop being entertained by the flamethrowers. It's just too good. And the pistol fire helping out as well. I mean, if you're going to join something together with fire, it should be gunfire, shouldn't it? Anyway, how are we doing out here? Or frost, I guess, and for Azrael. How are we doing out here? The enemy lord is just about done attempting to hide from all of the flames which are lighting up the forest. But he can only dodge so many and will fry within the trees. Lovely. And with that, I do believe the first enemy army is destroyed, but the second one is on the way. The elites, the black orcs, the boar boys, the Arachnarok, the giant. Actually, a ton of boar boys. Look at that. Moving over on our flanks. We'll see how well that goes for them. Not going so well for the Arachnarok, however. It did have the advantage of Strider, so it was able to ignore all the debuffs here, but oh wow, the flames lighting up the trees as they burninate that Arachnarok is just fantastic. Yeah, it was able to get way up ahead of the rest of the enemy army due to that Strider on it, but well, that didn't really help it out. It does survive with a 93 HP by the looks of it, though that isn't all that much. Nothing to be concerned about. Oh, and actually it might not survive if another shot hits it, and yes, it looks like a couple more shots will bring Big Boy down. Lovely. And yeah, imagine the army is moving through the trees. There's still a bit of forest to cover, and within their line of sight, they see the Arachnarok fried and then topple right at their feet. Gotta reduce the old morale. Anyway, looks like a unit of spider riders attempting to move towards us. But we'll pry just like the big boy did. And it is absolutely brutal. Once again, this is a fire army, and it should be facing off against more than one enemy army at once. So I fear that the enemy infantry at least will not be able to reach us. The cav, however, that's a different story, and we'll see. Anyway, black orcs are full frying just like those spiders did. Ooh, looks like a second shaman has arrived and gets a nice gaze of Morkin to one of our Slayer pirates, which does actually lose 2 units. That's fine. We'll trade 2 units for the, I don't know, few thousand that we've gotten so far. Boar boys are massing over on our right flank, so we're going to get ready to move our Slayer pirates and our regular Slayers in to defend against them, and the rest of the main enemy host will continue attempting to charge up the hillside, but, well, again, it's not looking like it's going so well. Giant is in the process of being burninated, just like the Arachnarok was, and even if it has 50% missile resistance, it's, well, it's just not going to be enough as it is down to 10% HP. Boar boys and a unit of Snotling pump wagons are in, however. The giant topples in the distance even as the boar boys make it into the fight, and here come the cavalry bane regular slayers to countercharge them and start laying into them with their axes. Gonna pop up that defensive buff, so a master rune of oath and steel on these guys. Plus 50 armor, plus 20 melee defense, and we should be able to hold off those boar boys just fine. And even as they run, not so sure that that's going to help out too much, as we have our second unit of Slayers, and together with them Slayer pirates as well. So they can start firing into the flanks of the boar boys with those pistols of theirs. There we go. And where will the boar boys be able to run? Balance of power at about 90% in our favor. The main enemy stack has melted away, and it looks like the boar boys will achieve nothing either, as having seen the entire enemy army fried, they want no part of it either, and will attempt to run away. How effective that's going to be remains to be seen, as now that they're away from the rest of our units, we are free to burninate them with those flame cannons. And frankly, running away was going to be no more effective than attempting to attack us here. And on top of that, they're going to have to go through forests. The boar boys are slow in the first place, and will be debuffed further as they move through the forest, and our fast-moving Slayer pirates, with their 45 speed, keeping pace with the boar boys, will continue gunning them down through those trees. You're running away, there's flames behind you, bullets whizzing from your side. It was a terrible day for these orcs in general, I guess. I was gonna say boar boys, but yeah, in general, for the entire army. A lovely, lovely fight. Alright, there we go. No problem at all. Perhaps unsurprisingly, considering that this army was designed to be able to fight 2 armies, or more than 1 army at a time, really like any fire-based army is generally designed. But obviously this one's a little bit more fragile due to the fact that we're using Slayers as a main line. But the Slayer Pirates and the emergency Grudge Settler Slayers for cavalry charges work quite well with the fire units. I'm actually very happy with this army composition. I think next time I play Dwarfs, this will be a early game army rather than a late game army, just to try to enjoy the combination over the course of the campaign a little bit more. We really do need the other engineer in here, though, because it may be an unsurprising revelation, but the Slayer Pirates do run out of ammunition rather quickly. Anyway, we have barely taken any damage, so we'll execute and loot just for the 100 oath gold. 1/5 of the way to a, what are they called? Something hammer? Oh, you don't have one. You know, the cold-causing hammer? Well, the weapon that gives us frost aura. Although as to whether we put it in this army, I mean, it would actually be quite nice in this army, but the Harazi thing that gives us flammable also causes slowdowns and weakness to fire, so there is that. Anyway, Herrick, you're going to grab a Heldegrad, and we're going to quick save. It's actually a good thing, I guess, that not everybody died here, because that allows us to quick save, and hopefully it doesn't crash, but just in case it does. Occupy, and it will indeed crash. Alright, so those orcs that escaped helped us here, and we'll reload. Alrighty, let's hope that works out a little bit better this time. This time I got a magnificent armor of Boric Beetlebrow rather than the Talisman of Preservation, but now that we all get blue items, I guess it's, well, both are good. Anyway, not that every blue item or whatever is created equal. Anyway, this place is going to be traded to our allies, so frankly it doesn't matter. Now, how are these guys public order? Oh, okay, so unlike the Imperials, they're not suffering provinces low control, so we're actually free to transfer these territories shortly, not immediately. And if you're wondering why not immediately, let's just build some stuff here. I can build a ranger thing, and I don't know, whatever. If you're wondering why not immediately, I just want to complete these provinces, so we're going to swap some territories around. But we're not going to bother holding these lowlands, that's for sure. Empower the guilds, and, well, you will have to move towards Morton's home, though I'm willing to bet you won't be able to do so in a single bound. Maybe the engineer should just wait here for you to come back, because you're going to have to loop back around. Anyway. Let's get back to doing things in order, post-fire slaying. What do we have here? Karaz Grimhammer, I believe you were next, sir. And I guess Ravola is free territory, so you can just occupy it. Gotta watch out for the incoming rat hordes, and I think as the vanguard of our faction, we will send our minor army there. Call it finding a, I don't know, an abandoned, collapsed piece of the underway and getting to Skaven Blight that way. I kind of like the idea. Anyway, the Trickster's Helm for you, sir. You are getting your own army, but, well, that's an eventually thing, not a right now thing. I mean, he has his own army, but this one needs to be modified. Not that I really dislike what he's got going on there. But anyway, Story Azrael, you're going to hit Summer's Fall Fort, and I immediately start doing this, and I was just starting to do things in order this turn. Charlotte Shorthands has decided to move away. Now, you have a new army, and I would like you to actually play. Maybe we'll besiege this and see if Charlotte Shorthands is willing to try to help these guys out. I'm willing to give them the chance, at the very least. You have 1 point, so we're not going to bother with it. Alright, you just besiege it, and then I will get back to trying to figure out where you were in the order. Alright, so Mornguard doesn't need to move for obvious reasons, but Belagar... alright, this turn Belagar's not moving. He's gonna sit still, sit pretty for one more turn. I want to see how these guys react to Mr. Morik Grimtideson, as I want him fighting the Cornates rather than Belagar. However... Belagar, I guess, can take Crow's Edge if Thorgrim attacks at Teclis, depending on where Teclis goes after this. Should be interesting. I really want to face off against his Lothern Skycutters with our own Air Force. That should be pretty neat, and as soon as we end the turn, we should be able to do so. Anyway, Ungrim, you have stopped moving because you cannot quite reach Beckhoffen, and you're protecting Mr. Thrani Skolson. Though, admittedly, if Thrani can reach Beckhoffen, you're probably better as being as close to it as possible, so that you waste as little movement as possible as well. So go here. Maybe you can immediately push on towards Griffin Wood. Alright, Thungni of Zorn, I believe, wait, I think it's Higginbore Ironpick that is now controlling this army. Wait, Defiant because you have some Slayer Pirates. Although they probably wouldn't work so well with the Grail Knights, but, you know, we might or might not replace them. You do need to get your other Grail Knight, but we don't necessarily have to use you specifically to recruit it, and we could send you out towards the Wargrove of Woe, at least for now. You're mostly an auto-resolve army, but and just to see the Grail Knights fighting with these Slayers, we might eventually get you a proper fight, if we can get 4 of these guys on the field. You stay here, get ready to recruit another one of these Grail Knights, hopefully next turn. You're also going to need some heroes of the well, yeah, we could use a couple of engineers here as well. Ugh, every army needs engineers, go figure. Alrighty, Higginbore, Iron Pick, you were where? Oh, you were out of order. Alaric Ranulfson, you're just capturing stuff left over from Kairos and continuing to do so, at least until we declare war on, or have war declared upon us by Mr. Tamarkan. Stay here, or at least get close to Hate March. I love the name. I can't quite tell what's the... I think you're going like this. I want you to stay in our territory because you still need a little bit of heals. Ooh, hello. Mr. Fator Hemanphone. You've got Mornhowl in tow. Oh, I do wonder if you're going to try to attack us. Alright, Alaric, we're going to give you points because that's looking fairly dangerous to me. I don't dislike your army, though. Might actually get you some heroes and make you into a proper force. I don't like the cross-country trait, which is the main issue here. Anyway, since you're up north and you're fighting demons, I guess we're best off venerating Smednir for the additional magical attacks. And granted, it'll reduce the already low magical attacks of the already low attacks of the Longbeards further, but with all the physical resistance enemies are likely to have up north, it seems like the way to go. Plus, you're kind of a support army for I was gonna say, you're kind of a support army for Thorek, but Thorek, I mean, that would be venerate Thugni, but at the same time, Thugni is kind of a useless veneration, unfortunately, so it's basically either Smednir or somebody like... let's see what we got here. Well, Grimnir would allow us to get stronger hitting Longbeards, but for the rest it would be completely useless, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, I'm gonna say still Smednir. It's hopefully good enough. Also, it's going through Rally, and we have nobody to take advantage of the ranks, so let's actually get Obstinacy, and then start moving through Blessed by Grugni for those Longbeards. And I think that's good enough. Well, we'll see if you get attacked and killed here, Alaric. Good luck, sir. Who's up next? I'm not even going to give you items, because if you die, then we won't have lost any. Because who knows, if Tamarkan's army is here as well and they attack us together, ain't no way you're surviving, bud. Where were we in the order? Alrighty, Brock Iron Pick, soon to... Alright, you're gonna capture Karak Bufdar now, soon to have your army of miners to head to Skavenblight. Oh, I can't wait to fight the rats at Skavenblight. Not even the settlement itself, but just generally speaking around it. They've got a pretty darn big empire, after all, and it's just neat. Plus, we got a legendary grudge at Skavenblight as well, so there is that to consider. Not that I've been ignoring them or anything. Anyway, that was Brock Ironpick. Sonori Grimson. Oh, right, this nonsense. Well, there isn't too much we could do about this because Xarla is very poorly defended, but, well, sir, if you die, you will have found your doom. So you're gonna head to Xarla, and we'll see what those gyrocopters with brimstone guns can do here. Probably the worst type of gyrocopter to have against this particular army. But it is what it is. Replace Thunder, you're gonna stay here, Thunderer. Grimly, you're gonna annoy these guys, and we'll see if these guys attack. We could, in theory, get a Grudge Settler unit, but it's a weak enough settlement that I'm disinclined, I think, to waste a precious, rare Grudge Settler unit on it. Especially since I don't believe any armies out here would actually need or want one. I mean, in theory, we could use another one of these guys. We're at 7 out of 11 after all. Replace another Quarreler. I'm actually surprised that there isn't a Grudge Settler bolt throw. Oh, what the heck? There's a little army here. Well, let's just hope it can't do anything. And these guys... Oh, no, that's a rebel for Tokmar's camp, which makes sense, because that's the Tokmar's symbol on them, so they're Tokmar's rebels. What was I saying? I wanted to take a look at Thorek and see. Oh, you only have 2. Okay, so you're gonna get the next one of these Quarrelers. In fact, this Quarreler was originally deleted and then I replaced him, so we'll get you off field, sir. Oh, and I just had another thought. Well, yeah, one of these Thanes was going to be replaced by another engineer, so... Not that I don't like them. Yeah, nonetheless. Okay, you're gonna go out, and we'll give the Quarreler to Thorek. He'll need a few of the extra Grudge Settler ones, as quarrelly as he can be. There we go. Alrighty, and we'll have to loop back down towards the Maggot Coast territory here and all of this, so you're not going north, which probably is fine. Also, did we need to build anything here for our allies? Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Anyway, back to... That was Snorri Grimtideson. You are going to get a few points. Now, we could get the additional ammunition. We have... for tradition and innovation, help those gyrocopters out there. You're gonna have a lot of work to do, so let them try and do it. Get your Blade Master, and then I guess Rune of Grimnir as well for the missile resistance and mass. Not gonna give you items because I'm disinclined to waste them here should you die. Anyway. Also, what do you have a good trait? Defiant is a decent trait, but we have a lot of Defiant Lords already, so... I mean, out of the Dragon Slayer, that's probably the best trait, probably the only one really worth using on them, just because Slayer Pirates are so fun and good and versatile. I'm all about the Slayer Pirates. If anybody remembers my previous Karl Franz campaign, since it's looking like, judging by the vote, it'll be another Karl Franz campaign, and please don't forget to vote, as, well, I mean, a difference of like 30 votes is still not that major when the counts usually in the thousands. But anyway, what was I saying? If anybody remembers my previous campaign and me constantly saying how much I love free company, this is, I've been doing the same thing throughout this campaign in the Slayer Pirates, so yeah. Anyway, where were we? Snorri Grimtideson. Alright, Guardian, Granite Hand, you don't need to move, neither does Guardian Silverhorn, though the additional units are being built up and soon at least one of you will probably move, and you'll trade that slot of being a Guardian to somebody else. And Jamek Doomtamer, you cannot reach Glowing Crater, but we are out here to fight somewhat, so you're gonna keep moving forward. And try to hunt a few of these Chaos Dwarf armies down. I'll probably transfer their territories or raise them. It doesn't really matter, because I don't want to hold the Darklands. Anyway, Jamek Doomtamer, that was you. Scap Holdfast. You were going down southward to face off against Gorbat Ironclaw. The only thing that concerns me here is that this is woodsy territory. And against this army, if it's terrain completely surrounded by woods, it's a bad idea. So I think you're gonna go right here on the road and hopefully away from the wooded areas. Go.
Forwards.
Huh. It lagged a little bit. I wonder if it was giving the AI the opportunity to intercept and then lag because the AI thought about it and decided, you know what, no, that's a bad idea. Assuming that the enemy in March stance can actually intercept, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, you have Tactician and you have Thunderer, which are the important things, so you have, well, all the important things. Go figure. Alright, get your Rune of Grimnir. And I guess full plate armor. We will want to get restock, so yeah. Also, wait, we need another engineer on the way to ya. This one's on the way to Heragrindadrag. Oh, you need... I take it... Wait, what kind of engineer do you have? You have a metal slinger. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's a slow down army. It needs another metal slinger. Fair enough. We should level it up, though. Oh, okay, no, that's just a settlement. I thought there was another army down there, and I thought these guys were in trouble, but admittedly, this army is so nasty that I don't know if it would be so easy for the enemy. Now, we do have some rank 7s, so we are the elite would be beneficial eventually, but obviously the armor isn't really necessary on the artillery pieces. In the meantime, though, let's go through to Rune Master. There we go. Get those cooldowns off, and then you can get We Are the Elite because it will benefit our artillery. At the cost of one extra use of Zufbar 42 pounders, but let's be real here, it's not a particularly useful skill. Doesn't do a crazy amount of damage to anything but the weakest of units, so not something we need to be super concerned with. Mr. Durgrim Burdrick. Okay, that's going to be difficult to say, I'm willing to bet, but anyway, you're going out here, you've built the Everguard. You're gonna go deliver them to Thorek. This is really the only reason, this is your purpose, this is the only reason you exist and are on field. Sorry, guy. Now I have to find you in here, though. Alright, what do we have here? Morn Guard? Oh, Morn Guards don't need to move. Actually, wait, one Morn Guard was moving, but is now in place. Cadron Redbeard, you're going out here. It's looking more and more likely that the Dimmed Suns will declare war on us, so we're going to have to, well, it's probably not going to be so much preemptively, but just straight up wipe them out. And did I not say I was going to replace you with Elmador Red Axe? Oh, there's Elmador Red Axe. And I promptly didn't do it. Alright, you go take this guy's forces. And then jump down there, I hope. Fortunately, Elmador is at rank 29, so this is an immediately fairly decent power for this particular army. Now, you will stick around for the sole purpose of acquiring the heroes for this army and then delivering them to them. Although I suppose if we conquer new territories, we won't need that, will we? Yeah, fine, we won't need it. We may have use for you eventually, so we will reset you instead. Alright, Elmador, you will need all your points. Let's just get your Route Marcher for now so that you can jump down here earlier or faster or sooner. Further, that's the one. Yeah. Alright, anybody else? We should be very much near to... Who the heck is Storias? Really? Oh, right. I moved you out of order, so that's why. Ulfar Norgrimling, yes, explosions. You are not near to another settlement by the looks of it, so start moving towards Mines of Gorgoth. Like... so. And, okay, it's gone. It's gone all the way up again. Hey, I found this guy easy this time, though. Ulfar Dammon. Who are you again? Why are you moving in this direction? Are you're Noli, which is a decent trait, and then you are Defiant, which is also a decent trait, but...
It is time.
We probably don't need you to command this. Also Thingrim. Trade the one minor unit, I guess? Doesn't really matter. Like so. Why did I even keep that one minor unit on you? Anyway, we're going to delete you, and we're going to reset you. And then we'll probably do something like a proper army out of this, but admittedly, this isn't too bad, all things considered. What do you have in terms of these guys? Azuli and... come on. Hey, we lucked into a free Traumac. Nice. And then what do you have? Karaki? That's fine. Alright, you're going to reset. We're actually going to put you into leading a proper army, possibly a reinforcing army or a auto-resolve army, but, you know, still be useful. Anyway, you are just getting ready to fight these guys. You are just in range of attacking Mr. Sour here. The main issue is this. I assume that this guy's moving towards attacking Barracour. This guy's here, so he'll immediately jump here where these territories can't defend themselves, and I assume you wouldn't be able to reach them in time. You... I think we can't take advantage of it. In fact, either way, I think you have to march stance this way. And we'll have to keep an eye on where this guy's going. Thick, you're just going to stay here with your silly little auto-resolve army, though, well, not auto-resolve army, Confederated army, though this Grudge Thrower will be useful still. Go here. Let's see how these guys react to things. I assume they wouldn't be able to reach any of our territory right now, and I don't think we care about the Ogre army here. Move a little bit further. Just in case. Alright, that was Thick Proudbeard. Fantastic name. Where were you in the order? At the very end. Just the Tech Thieves and whoever Yori Burdrick is left to move. You are a new engineer that's supposed to join Ulfar, I take it. And yes, you are. Alright, Yori, in there. And then the Tech Thief, which I guess can move down here, or we could scout out this place. Honestly, the Tech Thievery isn't super necessary anymore, so at this point these guys are more or less just acting as scouts. Actually, they are spare engineers, admittedly. They're all wayfarers, though, which is the biggest problem, but anyway. Just move down there, let's move the rest of the Tech Thieves, let's end the turn, and let's get to fighting once more. Callan Asgal doesn't need to move, Higginmore Brightax needs to move southward, and Scout needs to move, I think, not at all, just stay near the Graves of the Dragons. Drong Redmane. I believe you were going to either join Brock Ironpick or one of these other armies, so just stick around, we'll see. Oh, wait. Does this army need a runesmith? It does. Alright, so you're gonna go join Kazran, I think. And what do we have here? Who is Barundan Helheim? You are a Zaki runesmith. I assume I reset you because I didn't like Zaki, but at the same time, you're rank 22, and... what level can we get runesmiths at this point? Out of curiosity? Rank 9. Okay, so even with Zaki, I don't think it's worthwhile to waste a runesmith of this caliber. You're gonna move up here then. Maybe join this little army. Oh, in fact, you should be able to reach this army. It may be an auto-resolve army, but there will maybe be occasions that it needs to fight, and we might also get additional troops and turn it into a proper themed army. Who knows? Can't leave them without a runesmith. Tech Thieves, especially if they're going to be moving towards Chaos. Tech Thief, do the Tech Thieving, and I believe that's it. Lord non-moved, unsigned skill points, damaged buildings. Here? Okay, tiny little damaged mine. Hero not moved, damaged building again. Here, what the heck? What is damaging all these buildings? Building upgrades we've done, outposts available, irrelevant, commandment. Here in the vaults. The vaults we are keeping. I don't think we need the gunsmith's forge here, though. You can immediately get to the dwarf hold up and running. And then obviously get to the Karaz Ankor. We will also go for the trading port post, whatever. And then we'll go for the timber. Yes, and then High King's Tribute. Alright, and that's it. End turn. Alright, well, perhaps unsurprisingly, Gorich and a bunch of other single entities, yeah, they're going to be a big issue for us, are going to attack this little army. I don't know, but the auto-resolve might actually be giving this, or giving us too much credit here. The great thing, though, is this. The Shrines of Grugni, which give us the additional bonus melee defense, do work for garrison units, meaning we have a massive increase to the melee defense on all of these units, though their melee attack remains low, at the very least against things like clan rats and skaven slaves. Any of the units should be perfectly capable of fighting. The other big issue is, of course, that we have to rely on these two gyrocopters, and we have a frickin'... Oh, actually, no, we don't. You don't have Howling Warpgale, you are a Plague Priest. Beautiful. Alright, that works out nicely for us. Or a Gracier of Plague rather than Ruin. And yeah, they don't have Howling Warpgale. Alright, I think this is going to be a good fight. If nothing else, we're horrifically outnumbered, and we're going to go.
Kill trolls, giants, dragons, a greater demon or two. Let's see what surprises today holds.
Alright, good for you, Mr. Demon Slayer, but regardless of the fact that you've killed trolls, giants, dragons, and a greater demon or two, is it actually more difficult to kill one of those than it is, I don't know, 10,000 rats? Because that's the issue right now, and one you're going to have to face here. Anyway, here we go. Looks like the enemy will wait for their reinforcements to arrive. We are not going to be firing upon them with our grudge thrower because it's way too far away, and we've taken sort of the best position that we have. There's a little rock side here and a little bit of a river and forest to our back, but more or less we've just created a little dwarf box around the impassable terrain of the mountainside or hillside, or I don't know what to call this, riverside, and we'll see how well our units can hold. Everybody is in their shield wall stance, as the enemy does have a ton of those Skaven slave slingers, and we'll see how well regular dwarf warriors can hold. 74 melee defense on even regular dwarf warriors is pretty darn nice, though, you gotta admit. Alrighty, well, good luck to them. In the meantime, we have our 2 units of gyrocopters. They have a lot of work ahead of them and are going to be critical to even attempting to survive this. Remains to be seen whether it's possible or not. But we gotta make sure we can knock out any enemy elites that won't care about the massive amount of armor and melee defense that we have. So first on the menu will be the, not the Skaven Slave Slingers, but the Poison Wind Mortars, who are down to about 30% of their HP, and we'll keep taking those shots from those Brimstone guns. Also, is this a Slaneshi sky? What the heck? Why is there a Slaneshi sky here? I mean, we are near a Slaneshi territory, so I guess it makes sense. I didn't realize there was Slaneshi corruption in our own territory, which is a little bit concerning, but I suppose once we knock those Slaneshi out, it won't be much of a problem anymore. Anyway, Gorich is running around, and after the Poison Wind Mortars, who are going to be breaking soon, it'll be Gorich who we're going to have to try our best to gun down. Much as I'd love to enjoy watching Gorich fight, as he is a very entertaining hero, all those spin to wins. We really can't have him closing the distance. His evisceration ability is pretty devastating, and while I'm sure our lord would be able to kill him with time, he'd also probably mince a fair few of the relatively limited number of melee infantry we have, and we need every single Dowie to hold the line. There is also a chieftain with Bonebreaker moving towards us. And seeing the Skaven makes me want to play Skaven, but anyway, Orcs and Empire for now. Gorch is down to about 2/3 of his HP, and I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I mean, we can see our units just firing away, and now it looks like Gorch is just about done. Couple more hits, he's down to 240 HP. Though we have started to take a little bit of damage on our gyrocopters. Oh wow, look at him just run through the units and, that's interesting. He doesn't get blocked at all. I guess it's because he's a really large unit. Frankly, maybe he should have crawled on the ground, and maybe then he could have used those little ratties as shields. Anyway, now the Gorch is done, we are going to switch our targets to the big old chieftain. About 30% of the HP loss, maybe 40% of the HP loss on one of our units of gyrocopters as well, which is certainly of concern. Anyway, the rest of the enemy is moving on in from every direction, every which way you look. There are a few thousand rats. Oh wow, look at that, look at those grudge thrower shots. They're flying just over top, just overhead of our line of, wow, that is so close. But I guess sometimes it pays to be short. Anyway. Anyway, just gonna keep firing away at the enemy until they're ready to face off against us in melee. We won't win a ranged shootout. The enemy have more rats than we have arrows, to be perfectly frank, or quarrels. And so you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, the enemy chieftain is done for and is toppling over in the distance there. And it looks like the first of the enemy clan rats, or Skaven slaves, I believe these are clan rats, have arrived. The Thane and our Demon Slayer together will start facing off against them. Frankly, I feel like they should have made the Demon Slayer's attack a little bit faster. I want some frenzied axe swings with hyper-fast melee attacks. The guy feels a little bit slow, but granted he does hit hard, but it would have been nice if, rather than, singular hard-hitting blows like Lords and Heroes tend to have, the Demon Slayers, or certain other heroes for various factions, might have very fast but low damage dealing blows instead, like do, I don't know, 5 blows with the, or 6 blows, one with, whatever, that only do, I don't know, 150 damage, but in super rapid succession in the time that it takes to swing the axe one time. But obviously delivering the same amount of damage. I think it would be pretty neat. Anyway, looks, I get that that's an animation issue, but I'm sure that that's one that could potentially be overcome. Anyway, the rats have arrived, and they have arrived in numbers. We are horrifically surrounded here, and we're going to do our best to lower those numbers as best we can. Here come the first of the bomb drops. Obviously, these aren't gyro bombers, so they won't be quite as effective. But there's still a massive blob of Skaven here. And that's the first unit of gyrocopters, the brimstone guns, that have dropped their complement of bombs. Only 2 uses. Here comes the second. Bombs away 1, gonna move, and then bombs away 2. You don't want to drop in the exact same place, as the enemy will take a little bit of time to sort of plug the gap left by the munitions. Anyway, let's see how that did. Frankly, the balance of power is still very much in the enemy's favor. The enemy's lost a little under 2,000 of its 7,500 units, and we got about 500 kills on one unit of bombers, or I wish, brimstone guns, and 300 on the other. In terms of Skaven kills, that's really not a lot. One unit of Skaven slave spears has 280 rats in it, so yeah. Alright, well, that's all she wrote for the munitions. All we can do is use good old axe power to deal with the rats now. As to whether we can hold, we shall see. Chieftain in a fight with the Thane over on this side, and then over on the other side we've got our Demon Slayer, who's in a fight with the other enemy chieftain, or warlord. Which makes sense. These two have been dueling for a while, and fortunately that has kept our Demon Slayer occupied and in melee, which is important as we need to be in melee for, I don't know, 60 seconds, 120 seconds, whatever the time is, to summon our Ancestral Shield Bearers, which are very much needed here. And there we go. The clan rats shouldn't be super threatening to the Ancestral Shield Bearers, though I do imagine that they don't have a lot of HP and thus still fairly vulnerable, even with that massive amount of ghostly, ethereal, physical resistance that they've got at 75. 80 melee defense there. 55 and 25 base. Huh, where's the 25 coming from? We definitely don't have 25 shrines of in Grugny, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. Summoned unit and all that. Man, if only there was a runesmith in this garrison that was able to cast Rune of Wrath and Ruin, that would be just swelly. Anyway, the balance of power is still in the enemy's favor, but only by about 60% at this point. Another enemy lord, the enemy caster, has now finally been killed by our gyrocopters, who are not only out of ammunition, are fairly low in HP now at 40 and 50%. And we'll probably only have a couple more shots available to them, going to try to knock out that warlord and or chieftain as he attempts to run away. And gotta get the additional morale shocks to the enemy army. There we go. Army losses will eventually begin to tell, but at the very least we want the enemy lord's leadership wars and the morale shock of their deaths to make them go away. Anyway, it looks like the lords at the very least have been defeated, or the heroes and lords, the chieftains, the single entities. I think there was an assassin in there somewhere as well. And the first of the enemy rats have begun to move away from our main line. We are of course going to regroup because the rats will rally. Rattly. You heard me. And there isn't too much we can do about it. Looks like they're all wanting to focus the Ancestral Shield Bearers. Huh, that's interesting. And our Ancestral Shield Bearers are facing the wrong way, which ain't so great. But at the same time, yeah, please, use all of those slings on our unit that is ethereal. That is really helpful. Thanks, ratties. Alrighty, and we'll wait until the melee troops arrive once again and crash into our lines of Longbeards and Dwarf Warriors. Alrighty, that is a lot of slings coming our way, but that's alright. We continue to hold the line, firing back a little bit with our units of Quarrelers. Frankly, the Quarrelers in this particular army have done more work as melee units than as range units. But again, we don't have the number of Quarrelers necessary to deal with the sheer number of enemy rat slingers, especially with the loose formations that they have. And on top of that, well, when the enemy charged in, especially got into the dwarf box here, we really needed our range units to act as melee to help out. Anyway, the rats just keep on coming. But that's exactly what you want out of a rat fight. And they will clamber over the corpses of their kin to try to get to us. But we do continue to hold. And it looks like at last the balance of power is, well, actually not quite that 50% yet, but at maybe 45% in our favor. Almost 50-50. I guess a lot of rats are looking to rally, and again, there isn't too much that we can do about the enemy range units. Grudge Thrower and our 3 units of Quarrelers all trying to fire away at the same unit and send it running. Our units of Gyrocopters have at this point sort of switched to acting as light cavalry rather than firing away at enemies, since they've used up their complement of ammunition to kill off single entities or chase the enemy down. They are now trying to make sure that any unit that they can catch, which is only routing and not shattered, will actually shatter and not come back. And it looks like they're doing fairly well. The balance of power has shifted to about 55-60% in our favor, and it looks like the enemy is very much starting to run out of melee troops. The range units may be too far for us to reach, but well, the enemy is going to run out of melee completely eventually. And on top of that, at least where the Skaven Slave Slingers are concerned, as opposed to the gutter runner or night runners, since the assassins are a little bit better in melee than the Skaven slave slingers are. They can't be attacked by the gyrocopters in melee, but the Skaven slaves very much can. Especially since the shrines have counteracted the little bit of extra melee defense, or a little bit of extra... Well, have given a little bit of extra melee defense to our gyrocopters. Anyway, there we go with that. The battle is ours. And we managed to pull it off with a massive number of enemy corpses around our line. And it looks like not a single unit broke. Certainly we had losses, and we took a lot of damage on our gyrocopters, but I don't think we lost a unit in the gyrocopters, and they'll be healed to full HP. Heroic victory. Very, very nice. Looks like it was the right decision to move the copters here after all. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's always been extremely enjoyable to fight in horrifically outnumbered circumstances, and we were almost outnumbered 10 to 1 here, which is the right way to be facing off against the Skaven at all times. We encountered that sort of dynamic again a lot more in the early campaign than we did, than we have in the last few episodes, though admittedly at the same time, we've been a fair bit away from the major sort of centers of Skavendom that remain on the map since destroying Moors and destroying Rictus and all of those guys. Anyway, very, very nice fight, Snorri Grimson. I'm impressed that you were able to hold those guys up, but I guess it maybe shouldn't be surprising that the buffs from those shrines really helped out. Hey, and it looked like the pirates of Sartosa will indeed decide to attack us. I'm glad to see it. Close victory, casualties medium, and since we haven't... Oh, they've got some Sartosan and Norska raiders with him. Interesting. I'm just now trying to think about what with another faction we might be able to do with these guys in terms of army compositions. Obviously not with ours, but anyway, should be a pretty fun fight, I'd wager. Level 17 lords, so about on the same level as us, and we're outnumbered. Gotta watch out for those sirens, as we have no magical damage to speak of as well, and probably their fast movers as well. Go. Alrighty, here we go for the ancestors indeed. Hopefully they will enjoy the show, because I think this should be a pretty decently tough fight for us. I think the AI wasn't really thinking when it decided not to attack this army previously, because this army isn't particularly well designed to handle droves of enemy zombies. We do have range firepower, but no ability to do splash damage of any kind. Our artillery pieces are best at shooting down large enemies and sniping, not killing droves of enemies. And on top of that, our entire army is completely ranged-based, and the enemy units, they all have 25% missile resistance, and some of them have physical resistance on top of that. It's going to be hard to deal damage to these Sartosa Norscan raiders. Although we'll give it a shot. And speaking of the Sartosa Norscan raiders, it looks like they're going to start moving towards our vanguard deployed units of Bugman's Rangers. We don't have a Thane giving them snipe in this particular battle, so the enemy can see them, and we do have to be careful. Not so much of the Norscan Raiders. I mean, they would tear through them in melee if we let them close, but that's not the issue. Now, the issue is the enemy handgunners, which, between their armor piercing and their super high damage, will be able to do tons of damage to us if we let them fire. So, do as much as we can to these guys, then back up before the enemy handgunners draw into range. Fortunately, enemy artillery is pretty trash, as weird as it has always been that the artillery-focused faction, the Vampire Coast, has, I don't know, one of the worst artilleries in the form of the their weak mortars and carronades. I really would love for the, as I've said when playing Noctilus, I really would love for that modded unit, that Batwing Bombard, to be added. It was so dang fun and just so damn entertaining to watch. Well, thinking that next time I play whatever faction might ally with the vampires, I should use that mod just to give our allies Batwing Bombards and then steal them. But anyway. Anyway, looks like the reinforcements have at last arrived. We've softened up the enemy army a little bit and are now trying to have our Hellblasters and Organ Guns focus down the enemy Lord. All the artillery at once because, well, we really need the Lord gone fast as we can. This is also Bretonnian territory, which is not so great for an army like ours, simply because it is a direct fire army by and large, and in terms of at least the artillery and the shotgun units, the Grudge Rakers. And just generally speaking, Bretonnian maps have a tendency towards the sort of half-forested style of maps. They're not open plains, and they make it difficult to get a proper firing solution on the enemy. Alright, speaking of the enemy, it looks like they're rushing towards us at last. We have the rest of our army sort of deployed towards them, at least to try to get those Thunderers thundering away fast as they can. Now, these are the regular Grudge Rakers. They don't do fire damage, but they do they do apply the Shield Breaker. Even if they don't apply the slow, that would be applied by the Drake guns, which would be nice, I will admit. Still, the slow will combine nicely with the Flash Bomb or possibly Frostbite from our engineers, and we will continue focusing down the critical enemies. As for what enemies are critical here, it's the enemy handgunners. Any enemy unit that hasn't reached us isn't a unit that's doing damage to us, whereas the handgunners, definitely a different story. These guys have got 10 kills on them already, 38 armor-piercing missile strength, and that's with a unit of 160. So that's pretty darn solid. Compared to, I mean, that's in fact, what, roughly equivalent to us? We've got a unit of 80 that are doing missile strength 63 and not armor piercing. So again, gotta watch out for those guys. What we do have, though, is considerably more range than the enemy has. 174 versus, let's see, Quarrelers have 289. The enemy do outrange our shotgun units, however, and they have now drawn close enough to start doing damage. Ooh, a couple of volleys into our Master Engineer sees him go down to about 40% of its HP. Really gotta be careful about that. They're relatively fragile up there and can get sniped very quickly if you're not careful. Could have withdrawn the engineer with the rest of the army, but, well, it's too late for that. Anyway, speaking of withdrawing, we've backed up a little bit, just basically getting as close to our artillery as we can. With the idea that, A, we need to protect them from any fast movers that have looked to get around us, like these scurvy dogs in this unit of rotting Prometheans, but also to back away from the enemy hand cannons and any of the short range and melee units, essentially. It was necessary. Anyway, it looks like the rotting Prometheans are getting ready to move in. Gonna take a few arrows, however, and we'll probably not be super ready for a fight. Plus, this is, luckily for us, the rotting Promethean non-gunnery mob variant, and thus they shouldn't be all that threatening. Defensive unit, unlikely to do too much damage, and we're going to reduce it even further by popping entrenchment on our Bugmans, which thus have 100 armor, 60 melee defense, and 20 physical resistance, all while the beer recovers their HP. Alright, enemies are definitely drawing closer now, and we can see that we've been essentially in a 5-minute long shootout here. And the enemy is still approaching. The numbers that the enemy has in combination with all that physical resistance and missile resistance is really working for them. And they have certainly started to do a little bit of damage to a bunch of our units, which have lost at least 20% or so of their HP everywhere. But all we could do is keep on firing. The enemy handgunners have been the ones that have been by and large destroyed so far. And while we have let the melee units, now that the handguns are gone, we can freely focus down on the remnants of the melee zombies prior to them approaching. And even if we don't have the ability to slow the enemy down, what we can see here is what we do have is the ability to push the enemy back. Those shotguns staggering the foe and sending them flying backwards as they take hits. I suppose certainly something to consider if we want to go on if we want to do a heavy shotgun army, we could combine the two shotgun types. for a combination of slowdown and the stopping power of the Grudge Rakers. Certainly something to consider, but it won't be something that we need to consider in this particular fight, as with that, the enemy army shatters, melts away, and only one, I guess, unit of Norscan Raiders will escape. Lovely. Gotta leave them to tell the tale. Alrighty, there we go. Another magnificent armor of Borek Beetlebrow, whose name is so long it goes outside the box of the this little UI box. Anyway, heroic victory and a pretty darn great fight. Once again, the themed army is being designed around sort of rock, paper, scissors concepts. Means that the undead army was a particularly good sort of enemy for us to face off against, as in this army is bad against the vampire coast because we have no easy way to kill droves of enemies. There's no splash damage artillery and no way to slow enemies down. Plus, the entirety of the enemy army has a natural 25% missile resistance going for it, which is quite helpful against this army as well. And since we have to kill the units slowly but surely one by one, rather than doing so with splash damage, it allows all of them to advance. Giving us a really fun fight, but heroic victory nonetheless. Well, this army will get a little bit stronger once these Corlers are replaced with the Grudge Settler Corlers, which are on the way, because we really need Shield Breaker to power up the Bugmans and stuff. The artillery are doing pretty good. Once again, the Hellblasters both out-damaged the organ guns, which is still pretty interesting. But who knows? Maybe once these guys are past rank 7 and get the red line buffs, the organ guns will start coming out ahead on occasion. Damn Empire artillery. Anyway, a lovely, lovely fight. And would you look at that, Gorbad Ironclaw will also attack Scav Holdfast, and sir, Holdfast. I mean, this is a different Holdfast, isn't it? But nonetheless, we'll see how we fare against Gorbad here. Definitely gonna have to watch out for his fast movers, probably the Snotling Pump Wagons, and I wonder whether he'll give them devastating flanker once on the battlefield. Oh, Colossal Squig in here as well. Should be pretty nice, and of course the Night Gobos will all be stalking and hidden from our army, and of course they have Vanguard deployment, though I don't know whether the AI will take advantage of it, considering only about half of Gorbad's army does. Anyway, go. Alrighty, here we go, and unfortunately for Mr. Gorbad, he is screwed. He is absolutely screwed. While he has a decent army and pile of units, what he doesn't have is any way to take advantage of the fact that we have a limited sort of area in which we can fire. What I'm saying is, this is an underway battle, and we have absolute advantage with the slowdown army in what is basically a gigantic choke point. The enemy will never, and I mean never, be able to reach our army here, no matter how many units they have, until we run out of ammunition. So, here we go. Let's make sure we prove that, shall we? We've got the Vanguard deployed units of Outriders, which have shown themselves to be pretty fantastic in the debut battles that this army has had so far. We're getting some really nice battles this episode, just really interesting fights with really interesting armies, and a couple of toughies as well. I love it. Anyway, what do we have here? An enemy unit of Orc Boar Chariots, which, rank 8. These guys have been around for a while. I don't believe Gorbad starts with chariots, so he wouldn't have started with those, but still pretty interesting to see. Anyway, those poor chariots, all those ranks of theirs just to never be able to reach our lines, and get suppressed by the Outriders and then gunned down, while our Outriders get back or get ready to return to the fray, and the ultra-long-range grudge throwers continue firing away at them. Not as much range as a cannon with all the buffs perhaps, but still pretty darn solid, 720. I don't remember what our cannon's range was now, but it's absolutely insane. It's like 3/4 of the battle map or whatever. Anyway, it looks like there's an enemy Colossal Squig now, sort of trying to move towards us, taking about 30% of its HP and damage, and Gorbad similarly taking about 25% of his. He is moving together with a Goblin Big Boss, who's on a spider here. And there we go, that was interesting. What was that? Oh, I assumed that he was suppressed, and then as the suppress sort of moves away, he charges forward for a few seconds until the suppress comes back up. Is that what I'm seeing here? I don't know. I suppose it doesn't matter over much as Gorbad charges forward and then flops forward as well as the Outriders bring him down. Same thing for the big old Colossal Squig. Ooh, cool map though. Cool underway battle. And how are the enemy doing? Well, they're still trying to move towards us, but slowed down by the suppression and the monstrous impact, and we will continue laying down that withering fire. Hey, does everybody have a blue hat and then you have a green hat? Oh, okay, this guy's a white hat as well. It's mostly blue hats, and then a couple of them want to stand out with a green and a white hat. Interesting. Alrighty, anyway. Enemy will be sending those pump wagons at us now, but there ain't no way they're going to be able to reach us, I'd wager. And especially with both the grudge throwers there, we go down to 6 movement speed between suppression and monstrous impact. Outriders are such an insane combination with the grudge throwers. And I just gotta say it again, this is such a nasty, nasty army. Though I will be very interested to see how they fare against the Skaven, especially against multiple stacks of Skaven at once. And after we've dealt with the Iron Claw Orcs, we're definitely going to send them out that way. Oh, and considering their position, they could also probably fight some Vampire Coast, against whom the slowdown aspect won't be super useful. And neither will the Outriders being able to move forward, because then the enemy handgunners would be able to fire back, eh? Certainly, I think a good idea to then send these guys out that way, just because they dominate enemies that, well, they're built to fight well. We'll see what they can do against enemies that they can't fight well. Alright, either way, the enemy continues to attempt charging towards us, moving towards us at the very least. I don't know if them being slowed down can still be referred to as charging. At least the Gobos were hidden from us for a while, at least until they got too close and now start to take hits from our grudge throwers and the Outriders alike. Oh, those poor Gobos. Down to 4 speed, that's even worse than the pump wagons. Yeah, and just look at how far our main army is. Like I said, this is a big old choke point essentially, and there's no way the enemy's getting anywhere near here. What is getting near us, and I kind of didn't notice, is that the enemy actually has a bolt thrower all the way behind its line, and it is actually firing away at one of our units of Outriders. Fortunately, it's not super accurate, as we just saw like a dozen shots miss their mark, but it looks like a couple of them will, well, find their mark and do a little bit of damage. Bolt throwers are still pretty weak, however, I would wager, especially if the AI hasn't significantly invested in buffing them, and thus well, it's not going to do enough damage over time. Oh, look at those poor, slow units, these stones crashing through their lines. Oh, beautiful. And yep, they're at 3 movement speed, they're essentially stuck. And again, I just want to point out that's without the rest of the slowing capabilities of the rest of the army. And there we go, with that, the enemy will shatter, and the battle is ours. Fortunately, the Outriders aren't... Ow, did you just take a hit from a grudge thrower? Come on, gunnery crews. Anyway, these guys can fire while moving, and will gun down plenty of the enemy units as they run away. There we go. Another heroic victory. What was that, 3 in this particular episode? We're getting a lot of these in the latter portion of this campaign. I guess it does make sense, especially with our newer armies, because they're untested. They don't have the veterancy. They don't have the points applied yet. But it is nice to see them getting their playtime towards the end of the campaign. Well, actually, we're not even there yet, as long as interest remains. Anyway, nice fight. Alrighty, there we go. Poor Gorbad. All those tactics, all those plans undone by the underway, which forced his entire army to simply run straight at us. And the bum rush tactic is probably the worst well, this is probably the worst army of ours to try that tactic against, as if you're not getting around our units slowing you down, then you're going to slow down to basically no movement whatsoever. Enemy got 8 kills to their name via their goblin bolt thrower. Frankly, I didn't even realize it was there and ignored it. And the other losses were to friendly fire as well. You do have to be careful about those grudge throwers. 917 kills, pretty darn impressive. In fact, you're the third one. I think you deserve a name for that. We will. Oh, I could heal up. I might as well. Allied outpost lost Dragon Eye Cavern. Looks like the Fecondites have captured it from our Defenders of the Great Plan allies. The lizards are having something of a bad time in the swamps, and we're probably going to have to help them out. And yeah, Nurgle is one of the strongest factions. We've got 3 full stacks moving around here, and they're completely surrounded by Nurglish territories, which is interesting. Always nice to come up against a powerful empire in the late game, and those darn plagues are quite annoying to us as well. Anyway, lots of enemies killed in battle. Dragonbane gem that we don't need, armor of Beetlebrow, Dwarfen Tattooist, Wailing Banner, Gyrocopter for somebody, Guthrie Whitebeard. Yeah, you could use Gyrocopter. Let's see, Stonemason. There's probably not going to be anything of super significance. Province Clan Boreal secured. Defeated Gorbad Ironclaw. Surprisingly, shockingly garbage defeat trait in SFO. I would have assumed that they would have, fixed that and given, done a better defeat trait for him, but whatever. Seasoned Camper, it's not like we care about that particular defeat trait anyway. Constructor, Master Mason, Burger Iron Will, Technology Researched. Ooh, new technology to pick. It's been a while since we were going through the Slayer line. I guess now we can choose between the Great Weapon line versus, well, I guess the Hammers are also great weapons. Who do we have more of? And who gets the bigger benefit? Oh, well, you know what? We do need probably the attack on these guys, the Longbeards with great weapons. Their attacks are just generally too low. I think we'll do Sacred Duty, and then maybe we'll switch to this line just to get Shield Wall for Ironbreakers, because, I don't know, it just feels weird for Ironbreakers not to have it, don't you think? Anyway, folks, with that, we are out of town. I'm going to call the episode Bunch of Battles yet again. What, 3 heroic victories and some really interesting fights as well. Ooh, Story Azrael, you actually have another fight for you in the next episode. I'm so glad this army is getting good fights in its newfangled army with, its trials and tribulations still ahead, so good. Keep fighting around here as we continue to approach the Empire of Skavenblight. Bretonnia is still in shambles, but admittedly not nearly as shambly as it once was, as the money that we've been paying to Lewin does appear to have allowed him to get a few new armies on field and recruit and build up his territories to a little bit better. I think at one point he was down to 1 settlement, no, 2 settlements, because of the Oak of Prophecy, and that's pretty good. We'll see whether the Empire is able to recover in the same way as Lewin, and whether Elspeth is as well. We gave her, like, I don't know, like 500,000 gold. How do you only have 1 army? Did you? Oh no, there's a second army. Did you lose an army somewhere again, somehow? Yeah, well, anyway. Oh, actually, speaking of, I think, yes, we can give you a Fungzig. And I want to see something. I want to see whether the watch room is maintained. So, where is it? Yo, we're not going to take your money. Just take the settlement. That'll complete your province. And I want to see if we give this to you, you do keep the watch room. Oh, fantastic. Okay. That was the big thing that I was wondering. One of the reasons why I was waiting to give the Empire these territories. I wanted to see whether building and upgrading the watchrooms would allow us to continue to transfer them, so that if the AI gets those territories back, it gets them with the extra defenses, so that they don't, lose them as easily as they once did. All right. I am really, really happy about that. And Imperial Authority is starting to come back, I guess, as the additional territories. Interesting. I assume the fact that we're holding about half of the Empire and they've lost all of the Northern Empire. Actually, I'm surprised it's not more Imperial Authority losses. But anyway, the Reconquest and the saving of the Empire continues, but it's going reasonably well. And so is our next Age of Reckoning. By the looks of it, we're on turn 17. We're already 30% of our way through. Not any thanks to the undead or anything here, but mostly to the orcs that we've been fighting, since they're still worth a decent bit. Though I'd assume that see, the undead are worthless. Even the Pirates of Sartosa are completely worthless. But at least every orc army, every orc settlement is worth about 1,000, and while it'll take 100 of those to get to the Age of Reckoning, it's still going reasonably well. Anyway, like I said, rambling now, out of time. Still a very fun campaign, and we'll keep going as long as interest remains, so leave those comments below and enjoy, hopefully, more Dowie action as we reclaim those Valar realms. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.